there, I'm Roux. Welcome to my video. Today we're back at it again with some Am I the Antagonist? Am I the cornhole? Am I? Now some of these stories might seem a little confusing because they're from before the apocalypse and it will make zero sense in our post-apocalyptic world of never leaving the house, but oy vey. But they're good nonetheless, okay? They're juicy, they're good. Let's find the cornholes and whatnot with these stories. A little less screaming, please? Family and money don't mix. Post-breakup pregnancy. I like the old one better. Vegan girlfriend problems. And I want to say no. Before we begin, I want to thank everybody out there for staying the fuck home. You are a hero. Also to everyone who's making protective gear. Just gonna throw it in there that I made some, and if you need some, do contact me, okay? Okay. So without further ado, let's begin. A little less screaming, please? Am I the antagonist for asking to be reseated in a restaurant after the kid next to me kept screaming? So today was my sister's birthday, and I took her out to eat at her favorite Mexican place. Honestly, kinda expensive, but anything for her. When we were seated, we noticed a family of 5 right behind us, and a 7-ish-year-old child seated in a high chair. I didn't think much of it until 5 minutes after we sat down, and she began screaming. And I mean screaming. She had these fits that would last for at least minutes on end, and eventually she'd just, shut down until 10 minutes later when she began to scream again. After 2 or 3 times of this, I began to get kind of ticked off, as she was just yelling while her parents weren't doing anything to stop it. I asked them to quiet her down, but they just shrugged me off, so I asked a server to reseat us. The restaurant was really empty, and I tipped 25% to make up for the slight mess/inconvenience. As my sister and I stood up, the mom just looked at me and called me an asshole for wanting to get away from a disabled kid so badly. Her words. Now, honestly, even if I knew she was mentally ill, I still would have asked to be moved because I can't stand a dinner where the person behind me is screaming like a banshee. So Reddit, am I the antagonist? No. It has nothing to do with her child being disabled, and has everything to do with you're just as much a paying customer who sat there and you paid to sit there in reasonable, calm surroundings to eat. I have all the sympathy in the world for people whose children might have developmental disabilities or any kind of disabilities, but you can't just go into a restaurant and accept everyone else to just deal with your child making everything miserable. I feel for you that your child probably has problems. I have all the sympathy in the world for that, but it's not okay to be yeah, everyone has to deal with that now. When everyone is paying to be there, then that's not cool. I think the mother had an unreasonable, entitled expectation that the world would just deal with that. That's not reasonable. So no, you're not the antagonist. And you didn't move because the child is disabled. You moved because it was ruining your dining experience that you were paying for. It's not like you're this evil person who just hates disabled people. That's not it at all. And for the mom to try to make it like that, that's not cool, man. No, you're not the antagonist. Next! Money and family don't mix. Am I the antagonist for not sharing my monetary success with my family? Back in 2015, I opened my own business. During that time, I was working a boring office job and living paycheck to paycheck. I was making 26k pounds a year, whereas my siblings and my parents were making way more than me. Some of them even made double what I made, or triple. When I opened my business, I asked if they wanted to invest as little as £100 in it. No one did. My entire family thought that my business was going to fail, just like I had failed my 6th form. In 2018 and 2019, my business literally boomed. It allowed me to quit my job, and now I make just on the borderline of 7 figures a year. My parents still have around 200k in mortgage payments left and are about to retire. Yesterday, at a family reunion, my aunt asked why I don't help them out financially considering I make more in a year than they make in a decade. I told them it was because they had no hope in me and did not want to invest into my company when it was in its baby steps. I also told her that my parents made more than enough to put aside some money each month towards retirement, but due to their unorganized spending habits, they were living paycheck to paycheck every month. They were making triple what I was making when I was an office boy. My aunt called me an asshole for not helping them out and spending my wealth on lavish things. I told her I earned my shit through hard work, sleepless nights, and dedication. So, am I really the asshole here? No. Yeah, it's a bummer that they didn't budget and they basically screwed themselves out of a retirement, but they obviously had no encouraging parenting when it came to their kids, and it's like, oh, you failed this thing, so we don't believe in you. They don't seem very encouraging. They just seem like the kind of people who are like, oh, you're successful now? Gimme, gimme. So yeah, they can file those complaints under too bad. Next! Post-breakup pregnancy. Am I the antagonist for getting an abortion against my ex's wishes? I found out I was pregnant about a month ago. Me and my ex have recently separated about a week before I found out I was pregnant, and have barely spoken since the separation. I made the mistake of trusting someone I thought was my friend with these news, and also confiding in her that I was planning to have an abortion. She decided to relay this info to my ex. Some backstory behind our breakup. He is a drug addict. He was clean when we got together, but ended up using again about a year in. He hid this from me for months, and every time he would have a freak out because he was high, he would play it off as a panic attack. He refuses to get help for his addictions, and ended up stealing about $1,800 from me to fuel his habits. After I realized this and he came clean to me, I broke things off. Of course, when it rains, it pours, and a week later is when I find out I'm pregnant. So this friend of mine tells him my situation. I never planned on telling him anything. He calls me enraged, saying I have no right to abort his child. I disagree and say that it's my body and my choice. He launched into a rant about how he plans on changing his ways and he will work hard to make things work. He also makes a point of guilting me, saying his rough childhood has left him broken and he feels like us having a baby together will help him heal. I am a college student with very little money and only 2 years into my degree. He is very broke and has had to move back home since I kicked him out of my apartment. He can barely keep a job more than 3 months. Spoiler alert, I went through with the abortion anyways. This did not sit well with him. He said it was not my place to choose what happened with this pregnancy and that women shouldn't be allowed to have this much power. He called me an asshole for going ahead with the abortion against his wishes and went as far as telling my highly religious parents what I did, which turned into a very big, ugly mess. So, am I the antagonist for aborting this baby against his wishes? No, girl. No. Children should never be born with a job, which would definitely be happening in this case. He literally wants to make another person exist, another person happen so he can get his shit together, which is extremely unlikely. What's more likely is that the pressures of having a child would make him even more ill-equipped and make him even more sick. What he needs to do is take a grip of his own life and get help, get rehab, get therapy, get whatever he needs. Having a baby is not going to heal anyone. Children should be born into healthy situations, not into an unhealthy situation where they have a job of fixing everything. That's just not okay. Also, him going, oh, women shouldn't have this much power. But men should have the power to make women use their body for almost a year to make a human. Really? Really? Yeah, that's never gonna sit well with me. So yeah, you're not the antagonist, girl. I'm on your side. I am in your corner. Next! I like the old one better. Would I be the antagonist for being honest with my adoptive daughter? Me and my wife had a daughter who unfortunately died as a baby. We still wanted a child, so we adopted a baby girl who was the same age as our daughter at the time. Our adoptive daughter is 14, turning 15 this year, the same age as our biological one would be. Me and my wife love her more than anything. but I'd still trade her and all of our experiences together just to see my biological daughter one more time. Would I be the antagonist for telling my adoptive daughter how I feel? Some backstory. Me, 45 male, and my wife, 42 female, had a baby girl back in 2005. She unfortunately died back then, having lived just a few weeks. Needless to say, we were devastated, but we still wanted to be parents, but a biological child was out of the question. And so, a few months after our biological daughter's death, we adopted a baby girl who was the same age as our biological daughter was. We were extremely happy when we adopted her. It felt like a chance to start anew. My wife and I love our adoptive daughter so much. I love her more than my wife. She is a good kid, she gets good grades, is responsible, doesn't drink nor smoke, etc., etc. We have been really happy these past 14 years, despite the occasional ups and downs. They're just a part of parenthood. But despite all that, I'd still trade my adoptive daughter and all that time me, my wife, and her have experienced together just to see my biological daughter again. If only for a day or something like that. It sounds bad, I know, but that's how I feel, and I can't do anything about it. I don't know if this is a common thought that adoptive parents with dead children have. It very well could be, but I really don't know, and I'm afraid to talk to my wife about it. So, would I be the asshole for telling my adoptive daughter how I feel? I appreciate honesty above anything else. This also weighs really heavily on me. It would lift a lot of pain if I could get this off my chest. I want to be honest with my daughter at all times, but I fear that this could damage our relationship. I also just don't want my daughter to overstep any boundaries. There have been times when she has treaded on some thin ice when talking about my biological daughter. Would I be the asshole for telling my adoptive daughter how I feel? I want to be honest with her, but it could very well harm our relationship. Edit. A lot of people have said that my intention is to hurt my adoptive daughter. That is not the case at all. I just appreciate honesty. Okay, honesty time, honesty time. There is something severely wrong with you. Like, clearly you should have been in therapy ASAP after your daughter died. And the fact that you keep talking about it like, my biological daughter, my adoptive daughter, like when it's been 14 years, making that distinction is really weird. Like, by this time, it should just be my daughter's. And for you to be like, oh, my adoptive daughter is treading on thin ice, talking about her sister? Like, she's not allowed to talk about her sister? She's not allowed to, like, reference her as, like, a sister she had, but that died? Like, you're treating her like she's just not even a part of the family. Just like this thing that you got to replace your daughter, but that you would just throw away. It's so messed up. The fact that this person would rather destroy his adoptive daughter than to talk to his wife about it just goes to show how much of a coward he really is. Like, he's like, oh, I'm afraid to talk to my wife about it, but yeah, I totes my goats should be like telling my adoptive daughter that I don't really feel like her dad at all, and that she should be, feel like an other. Get yourself a therapist. If you need to get this shit off your chest, dude, that's what therapists are for. Holy shit. You the antagonist, you're the cornhole, the asshole, you're the flaming anus of all of anuses. Oh my god. Next! Vegan girlfriend problems. Am I the antagonist for adding meat to my girlfriend's vegan dishes, only for myself? Throwaway because my girlfriend knows my account. Anyways, we live together and split cooking duties. I cook 3 nights and she cooks 3 nights, and we usually do takeout for the last night. On my days, I usually make something simple like a pasta or rice dish, but we'll do 2 batches, one vegan for my girlfriend and one with meat/proteins for me. On my girlfriend's nights, she'll occasionally do more elaborate, properly vegan dishes. I like these a lot, but on more simple nights, salad plus soup, her food leaves me really hungry and unsatisfied after. So recently I've grilled up a small chicken breast, salmon fillet, or scrambled some eggs for myself on her cooking nights. Most nights I'll literally just boil an egg or 2. I didn't think this was a huge deal since I didn't ask her to cook any meat for me. It's just me making a small side dish, so to speak. But last week, in the middle of one of her dinners, I grilled myself some shrimp to go with the salad she made. She flipped and called me inconsiderate and ungrateful for altering her meals. She said she's tolerated me for weeks now, but that I've been insanely rude to eat meat/egg/cheese alongside her carefully crafted vegan meals. I offered to cook for myself from now on, but she said that's not the point. She wants us to share 100% vegan meals together on her nights without me adding meat as a cop-out. I feel like she's being a little unfair, but maybe I am for adding meat? Am I the antagonist? Now, I'm vegan myself, so you might think that I'd side with the girlfriend. Not on this, though. Like, he says that he likes the meals that are elaborate, aka has proteins in them, because the myth that you can't get protein if you're vegan is just a myth, but you have to add stuff with protein in it, like peas, stuff like that. And if you don't, I can completely understand if he feels hungry after. Like, when I started becoming a vegetarian, I thought they only ate salad. So, yeah, that got bad real fast. But then now I learned that you can get like vegan fillets that look like meat and have the same texture, but it's made out of peas or something else, and you get just as much protein out of that. So I'm guessing that's what she's making on the elaborate nights, but then on the less elaborate nights she's making just soup and salad. Yeah, I don't think that would fulfill anyone. Soup and salad. Unless that soup is like really hefty, I don't see how that's gonna be filling at all. So I totally understand why, but maybe, I don't know, talk to her about adding some more vegan protein if she wants to have 100% vegan meals. Next! I want to say no. Am I the antagonist for rejecting a disabled girl's prom asking? Alright, so today was quite traumatic for me. I'm a high school senior, 18 male, and promposal season is currently in full swing. I was in my AP Chem class when suddenly an entourage of people entered my classroom with a disabled girl, she has cerebral palsy, that I know. I first saw the posters and the bouquet of flowers she was holding and thought, "Aw, that's sweet of her." Then they revealed the posters and I read my name and was completely taken aback. I literally almost had a fucking anxiety attack. I didn't know what to say at all, and the entire class was cheering and people even started filming. I was straight up frozen for a minute and I could feel myself burning up with embarrassment. Of course I wanted to say no, but since it was so public and everyone was waiting for me to say yes, I did and hugged her. Everyone clapped, including the teacher, and I was mortified. One of my buddies asked me if I was okay afterwards, since apparently I looked like I was going to burst into tears, and I told him I literally did not expect that at all and I didn't want to say yes. He suggested that I go find her after school or something and explain that to her, and I agreed. Now, this girl is really nice. We had class together last year and sat next to each other for a majority of it and talked quite a bit. I would say we were friends then, but we haven't spoken more than 2 times this school year, so we've definitely drifted apart. That's why I was completely shocked when she sprung the prom asking on me. Usually, people have their friends make sure that the other is at least aware before doing the asking to prevent situations like this. I was contemplating if I should just bite the bullet and go with her, but decided I just couldn't because it's my senior year prom and I was already starting to plan my asking. There's a girl that I've liked for a couple of months now, and I recently heard from my friends that she likes me back, so I was going to ask her. So I ended up going to the special ed classroom after school where I found her, and I asked if I could speak to her outside. I told her everything and how I really, really appreciated the gesture, but I was already planning on asking my crush to prom, and she was crushed. She started crying really loudly and asked me why I couldn't have just said no, and I said that I didn't want to embarrass the 2 of us in front of all those people. At this point, one of her aides came out to check on us since she could hear the crying, and the girl told her what happened, and she straight up glared at me and said, "That's not okay." Now I feel like absolute shit. Am I the antagonist? No. Here's the thing, I feel like people are making it like special, like you have to say yes because she's disabled, but that just makes it worse. Like, why would they not tell you beforehand so that this girl would never be in this situation in the first place? I feel like they set her up for failure, and you too, because they sort of like, well, he can't say no to her. That's just shitty. That's just shitty. Like, all those videos of people being asked to marry people on like some sporting event or like promposals gone wrong. It's just, you need to clarify if it's okay first before doing that public thing to someone, because they genuinely feel like they can't say no. And if they do say no, it's like just watching a train crash. It's awful. Yeah, you're not the antagonist. It's sad, but it's not your fault that they didn't make sure that you knew and that you were okay with it. Regardless of who's asking, regardless if that person has disabilities or not, just, you need to clarify with this with people first. It's not okay to just spring this on them and then be upset that they didn't feel like they couldn't say no. That's just not okay, dude. Well, what the? You're not the antagonist. So yeah, that's today's stories. I hope you had a wonderful time and that you'll come back next Friday and that you're staying the fuck home. Because, the apocalypse and all. Feel free to follow me on social medias and subscribe, of course. I post every Friday and soon every Wednesday too, so thank you so much to my wonderful patrons, Katbra, Madlena Wurska, Cami, and Ellie. See you next time. Ooh.